In Washington, we have to ask permission to record everything, just like I asked you before we came in. But for the purpose of the tape, can I have you read that red sign?
This room is being audio and video recorded.
Yeah, I have your permission to do that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Detective Todd Jordan. This is in reference case number 142891132. The time now is 9:09 on Monday morning, the 20th. All right. Get those formalities out of the way. I'm going to let you have that just in case you forget who I am.
Okay.
I'm easily forgotten. Can I get your phone number, Mike?
425.
And is that address in Everett your permanent address? That's your grandparents, I think, if you told me on the phone, right?
My home address here in Tacoma is...
And is that an apartment or house?
It's an apartment, so it's...
All right. Hey, I appreciate you coming in. I know it's got to be kind of difficult for you as well. You and one of your co-workers, she's been working for you for a while. She tragically lost her life on Thursday, as you know. There's a few questions I have for you, and kind of like how you met her over the last 4 or 5 weeks that she's worked for you. Mm-hmm. And then even on that night of the incident, if you had contact with her and stuff like that. You okay with all those?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Can you just tell me how or who you work for?
I work
more for purpose of the recording.
Sure. Granite Transformations. We're a franchised company. The franchise I work for is based out of Mukilteo. They own, those specific people own the one down here as well, but not the Tukwila location. I work for Granite Transformations in Mukilteo. I'm the general manager of the new Tacoma location. We're in the process of opening up a new storefront down here. Mm-hmm. And she was our first hire.
How did you find her as far as employment?
I put an ad on Craigslist, and I got 50 responses back, and I just gave her a call, interviewed her over the phone, met with her in person and interviewed her. Then she interviewed with the two owners, Bob and Deb, and they liked her, everybody liked her, so we decided to hire her.
Okay. And that was about how long ago? Do you remember?
4 or 5 weeks.
4 or 5
I could find the exact date if you wanted me to.
Yeah, probably later I might ask you to give me a call. 4 or 5 weeks ago. And do you spend a lot of time with her?
Over the last 4 or 5 weeks, yeah, a lot of time. She was the only other person who worked there. And what I do is I do a lot of sales calls with people. But she was kind of in charge of doing a lot of the follow-up. So I'd be bringing files to her, drop them off at her house, or we'd usually meet up at a restaurant. I'd give her the files, and she would enter them in some of our Constant Contact, which is just an app that emails people. Mm-hmm. And then we would also write thank you letters for letting us come out, and she would do all my confirmation calls for appointments or installations. I do home remodeling. Mm-hmm. And so I talked with her probably every single day of the week, just about, and I probably saw her 3 days of the week. So. Okay.
In those conversations every day, was that by email or was it by phone?
Combination. Emailed her, would call and chat with her. Sometimes we would be text messaging each other. A lot of times someone would call me and cancel their appointment, and then I would send her a text to change it on the calendar or something. So it was just all the time. We didn't have a physical location yet. We're trying to buy a showroom in Puyallup, and so she was sort of working out of her home on her computer as a home office.
Okay, and then you would you go to her house often?
I think I only went like 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. Mostly it was just the times that I was teaching her how to use our apps or our programs on the computer.
You ever meet her husband?
No, I never met him.
Was there any particular? Does that seem odd that she's married and you're at her house 3 or 4 times? You've never met him?
Well, he was gone for 3 weeks, mm-hmm. or something like that, 3 or 4 weeks on a trip, training trip in Yakima, she said. Mm-hmm. And she'd only worked for us for 5 weeks. Uh-huh. So, and I'd never been over to her house until maybe 2 weeks before he got back, because I hadn't moved her far long enough in the process that we were going to start having her do some of that actual work on her computer.
If she was working at home, how do you know the hours that she worked? Did she log a certain time?
It was just an honesty policy.
Really?
Yeah.
Just like, was it a basic 40-hour week type thing?
No, we were doing 20 hours a week until we got our location set up.
Okay.
So you know, she was just keeping track on her little time card that we had for her. And based off of what I was having her do, I knew approximately how long it should take.
Okay.
So, you know, I mean, if it was 50 hours logged when it should have been 20, I could have seen that.
Right. Did you meet any of her friends at all?
No, I never met any of her friends. I think I talked to, well, she said one time she was having one of her friends text for her or something when I was texting her about something, a file that we had, but I never met any of her friends in person.
Okay. Now some of these questions, Michael, is going to sound kind of like I'm assuming things that happened may or may not have, and even if they did, it doesn't make you responsible or culpable to anything that happened from her death. Right?
Yeah.
So did the relationship become more than just a working relationship?
No, not at all.
Okay.
We never did anything together whatsoever.
All right. Did she buy you some flowers on Thursday?
Not for me. No, actually, I have a roommate who whose wife is pregnant, and my roommate does work for us at like the Puyallup Fair trade show stuff. And they both worked the Everett Home Show together 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then
so Danielle worked. Oh, that's what her husband called her. But
yeah, Danielle, Tara Danielle.
Yeah. Did she work the?
She worked the Everett Home Show, and I think it was 2, maybe 3 weeks ago.
Okay, and she worked that with?
She worked that with my roommate, who lives here in Tacoma. Right. And so they drove back together. And when they drove back together, she came in for 5 or 10 minutes, said hey, and then she took off. But I guess she had met my roommate's wife who's pregnant, and she just randomly dropped flowers off a couple days before she passed away, I guess is what they told me.
There was a receipt for that. But I was just wondering if it was, because it wouldn't be unusual for a girl to, nowadays it would be when I was young.
Buy flowers.
Buy flowers for a guy.
No,
did you buy some liquor for her? No, it doesn't matter. I'm just asking for her husband.
I don't drink. I've never purchased liquor or alcohol.
So would your roommate have done that?
I don't think so.
Because she was trying to get a bottle of liquor for her husband because he's 20 and coming home, and she wanted to have it in the house, and so somebody had purchased her a bottle of liquor, and you're not in trouble for that. I mean, I don't care. I just want to know if you have.
I didn't do it personally. Again, I've never even had a drink of alcohol in my life. I doubt my roommate or his wife did it. They're not exactly financially secure.
Yeah, I'm sure she probably gave him the money to do it. I mean, just because she was 19 and couldn't get it done.
I don't know. I mean, I know she had a couple other friends that were, I thought, older, that were friends with her husband. She did mention to me one time that, you know, he drinks alcohol, and then I said it because I remember that he was 20. I said, really? Even though he's 20? And she said, well, if it's in the safety of our own home. And I just, you know, it's an argument I didn't really want to have, so I just kind of didn't bring it back up.
Yeah, apparently she didn't drink at all either.
Okay.
But that's what I heard anyway. So. But I guess I was kind of thinking that maybe he might have got jealous of your relationship with his wife because you spent some time together.
Well, she had said that to me and to my roommate at one time.
What did she say?
Well, she told me one time that she was worried he might get jealous or something, because she had said that he would say, wow, you spend a lot of time with your boss, or isn't it kind of weird that you guys are always texting each other? To which, you know, she told me that what she told him was because we don't have an office, we have to do all our communication over the phone.
Right.
And that he had told her, oh, that makes sense. But she had told me before that he was kind of a jealous person. And then she had told my roommate on their drive back down that she was maybe a little worried that he was the jealous type of person who might not like the fact that she was hanging out with me, considering I'm so close to her age, close to his age. But I don't know, I kind of just brushed it off because I didn't have any intention of doing anything with her, and I'd never met the guy yet.
Right.
Usually once you can meet someone, their fears kind of can get put to rest if you're just forthright and upfront with them. But I never had a chance to talk with him.
Yeah. Well, The investigation is still ongoing. He's being charged today for her murder. But the thing is that I'm trying to figure out if he had a motive, if he really believed that there was somebody that was having an affair. And there's somebody else I need to talk to as well. But Mike, I just was. Don't hold anything back. And absolutely, you're not responsible for another person's actions. You understand that?
Well, I mean, even if she had done something, it doesn't make it right to kill somebody.
No, it doesn't. You're absolutely right. And it's not, she didn't deserve to die, and he didn't have the right to kill her, regardless of what kind of bullshit he says, excuse my language, but as far as it was an accident, I don't believe that to be the case. And he doesn't really say it was an accident. He just says he, didn't realize the gun was loaded, but he intentionally pulled the trigger. Yeah. And it's a tragedy. Yeah, truly is. And I know that she was a coworker and a friend, so I know I feel bad for you. I mean, I'm sorry for your loss.
She did speak very highly of him. She didn't ever let on to me that there was anything wrong between them. I mean, I personally, I could tell that, I don't know, a lot of girls do the thing where they kind of try to fish for compliments or something. A lot of people do that. She fished for compliments occasionally. Like, she sent me a text message one time of like her trying on some clothes or something. I don't know if you guys have her phone or not, but of her trying on some clothes, and she was like, "Don't I look professional?" I was like, "Yeah, it looks great." And then I could tell she wanted me to tell her that she looked really good or something. And then I'm pretty sure I said, I'm not gonna compliment a married woman, but that was like the most interaction that could have been perceived as something wrong that I could think of. I'm pretty sure that every single email is just business related. Almost every text.
Were you talking to her on Thursday?
On Thursday, I talked to her several times, yeah.
Well, what was the last conversation?
I spoke with her on the phone, and I think it was at like 5 o'clock, and I had talked with her earlier in the day. I think it was at 3. My boss was in the car with me. No, maybe it was at like 1:30. And she called me, and I knew her husband was coming home that day, so I was specifically not going to call her that afternoon, so she could have her time with her husband's been gone. And she called me up, and I asked her, I said, I thought, that Skylar would have been home by now. And she said, I'm at the CP waiting for him, so I guess she must have been picking him up. And she had some question for me, I don't remember what it was. And then she called me again later at like 5:30.
5 or 5:30?
I can check my phone if you want me to.
Do you have it with you?
Yeah. See if I can find exactly when it was she called. Oh, it looks like it was at 4:30, 10:16, 4:27. So, and she called me up, and I asked her again. I was like, "What are you calling me for?" Her husband's home. She said, I haven't gotten very much work done today. I just wanted to get a little more work done while he's in the shower." So I guess he was taking a shower. And I said, "Okay, sure." She was asking me about a YouTube video that she was uploading for our company. And then she texted me even after that. And the last, maybe it was before. I thought it was after. I thought I could have sworn it after. So I guess she texted me before, but she would ask me when the next payday was. I texted her at 6:10 and asked her if she wanted to come up last Saturday, and work on our showroom with me, talking with customers and doing follow-up calls and practicing, working in our Mukilteo showroom. And she never responded, which was weird because she would always respond, email, text, phone call, right away. And I texted her from that phone, and we had just bought her a work phone, so she didn't have to use hers. Texted her from that, she didn't respond to that. And I think
what's that work phone number? I don't know that we have that.
It's brand new. I literally had just gotten it. I don't know what the number is.
But she had possession of it?
No, she didn't have it yet. I just gotten it. I was going to give it to her on Friday.
Right.
And I texted her from the phone saying, "This is your number."
I just want to make sure if she had another form of communication that we could get it. I had a copy of it.
Yeah, she didn't have it yet.
All right. And she at 6:10, you texted her at 6:10?
Yeah, I texted her. It was at 6:10, asking if she wanted to come up and work in the showroom Mukilteo. She never answered.
Can you let me see that text?
Sure.
This is the bottom there.
Yeah, well, it's the second to the bottom. I texted her next morning as well.
So when did you find out she had passed?
I found out the next morning, sometime after that bottom text, I would think it was like 11, my boss called me, and he had told me that Como or Cairo had called him and asked if Danielle worked there, and he asked what it was about, and they told her that she had been shot, and then he called me up and said that he thought that I should know, and he told me over the phone while I was installing a job in Olympia.
Sorry to.
I can email you a screenshot if you want.
That's all right. Well, yeah, I may have you do that too, but so when I'm writing my report, I'll have a ability to know what the hell I'm writing. Excuse my language.
Sure. Thank you.
Right. Okay. When she told you that your roommate, or mentioned it, did she mention it to you or to your roommate that her husband was a jealous type?
She mentioned it to both of us.
Okay.
She told me one time, and I kind of just brushed it off, and I guess she told him on their car ride back. Maybe it might have been in reference to the fact that she was driving him back or something. It could have been in reference to me, but I don't know. I mean, he's married, and I mean, like, I know that I'm a good looking person, and that maybe that would intimidate somebody, but my roommate isn't really, and he's married, and he's older. He's like 27.
That's not old, but
Well,
I'm just telling you.
old to her. I would assume it had been in reference to that he might get jealous over me, but I could ask my roommate for clarification. But.
She did think you were. I think the quote was from a friend of hers that you were gorgeous. So now you have a compliment of being gorgeous. So there you have it. I've never heard a man called gorgeous before.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Anyway, so, and I think she probably liked you a little bit. She was deep like with you. Let me say it that way. I think is what I'm getting from a friend of hers, a close friend of hers.
Okay.
But she wasn't really quite sure how to deal with all that, you know. Because she did love her husband.
Yeah.
And I think that's true, but I don't think he was a nice man. Minus the shooting aspect, I don't think he was a good dude anyway.
Really? Well, she told.
Did you ever see bruises on her arms or anything? I guess if she was gone the whole time, probably.
Yeah, I never saw them interact. I know our owners, the owners of my company, when they interviewed her, the husband was at the interview. But from what I understand, he was just sitting in the car. They only had one car, and I think he drove her there and 20-minute interview and pick her up. But I don't even think they met him. She said he was a jealous type. She told me one time that he yelled at her for watching the Kardashians, which I would want to yell at somebody too for watching that show.
I know, it's the dumbest show in the world.
I kind of just brushed it off as okay, if I would watch somebody waste 20 hours a week watching a show, I'd probably be like, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. I don't know if he really yelled at her over stupid things. I guess she told my roommate that he threw her phone one time and it broke. But I don't know if it was just an angry throw, or if it was he just tossed it to her. Well, it probably didn't just toss it to her and miss, but she never let on that he was abusive or angry in any way, just more that he was kind of immature, which he was 20, so I mean, kind of is understandable.
What's your roommate's name?
Rick Small, Smull.
You're gonna be changing that name. Do you have a phone number for Rick?
Yeah, 1 second.
I may ask to talk with him.
Oh, that's fine. I'm sure he won't mind. It is 253.
And he works for your company as well?
But he just did part-time. He actually isn't employed with us permanently. It's when we need him to do a show, a trade show or something, he's just a really personable person that's good with talking to people. So he kind of promotes our product.
Okay.
So it's like a seasonal job that just happens all the time randomly.
Does he work anywhere else?
He does not currently have an employee. No, he doesn't. He's trying to get hired on a few different places, trying to get hired on full-time with us, but we just don't have the need yet for more people. But I think he's doing some government assistance and some things like that in the meantime.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. That's why there's handouts everywhere. It's the handouts that when you expect it. That's how I don't like it, but
Yeah.
no worries there. Anything else you think that might help me with this at all? I'm just trying to get a background of their relationship more than.
I mean,
I know you had a limited time with her.
Yeah.
But even one of her friends mentioned that you guys spent a lot of time together, and she thought that Danielle was getting a little more attached than what was appropriate, and she even warned her at the point that, hey, be careful because you know how Skylar is.
oh jeez. I specifically wanted to hire her because when I called some of the people that she interviewed with, her mom had died, her dad had passed away recently. She came
Killed
from
himself.
Oh, he did? I didn't hear that. She had come from a kind of a hard family life, and when I like people who are kind of hungry to prove themselves for a chance to do something. So I really liked her. I mean, yeah, I thought she was pretty. I thought she was really good looking. But I wanted her to be our inside sales / first point of contact for our customers. So I wanted someone outgoing, pretty, fun to be around for people to chat with. But I don't know why. I don't know why he would do it. I mean, I was thinking like, okay, even if you went through every text message I ever sent her, there's nothing in there that would insinuate that we were doing anything, and any emails or anything like that. So I couldn't imagine what it was. And for how much she had told me, they were in love or whatever, I thought it was an accident. When I read the first report that he was cleaning his rifle, I was like, are you kidding me? And then I read the second report that says he clearly aimed it at her. But
remember this though, Mike, and on news, whatever the story is, doesn't matter, bar none. 20% of it's factual and 80% of it's entertainment.
Yeah.
Because they skew everything. I've been on scenes such as this and others that I watch the news and I'm thinking, where'd you make that shit up at? And knowing what was told to them as well. Just whatever can sell.
Yeah, sell the article.
And that's a shame. So the news is not very factual.
Well, and I want to know what happened too, because I do feel awful that if I was the reason,
I don't know.
If nothing even happened.
I don't know that. I know that she was pretty impressed with you, but there could be somebody else that bought the. I'm going to call Rick here in a little bit and find out if he bought. And it's not that I'm trying to get Rick in trouble. At this point, I don't care. I'm not the alcohol police. I'm a homicide detective. But I just want to find out. But there's somebody else I need to get a hold of as well. I'll go locate and talk to them. So I don't want you to leave here feeling responsible, because you're not. It doesn't matter what your action was. It wouldn't matter if Skylar walked in and you guys were intimate in their bedroom. He has no right to do anything but get his shit and leave. Or say, hey, you can take her with you when you go. But he doesn't have the right to do what he did. And it's not your fault, and you're not responsible for it. And that's one thing you need to make sure you understand. The fact that you hired somebody outgoing that had been down on her luck and you're giving her an out to better herself, I think that's commendable.
I asked, I like goal-oriented stuff. I listened to a lot of seminars and things, and they always talk about goals, and I'd asked her to send me her list of what her work goals were and her personal goals were, and her personal goals were, to be able to help support the family financially, be financially secure, have a family. I didn't really get.
It's like her dream board, right?
Well, yeah. Well, and then her work goals were to be good at her job, make $15 an hour, and a couple of other things. And then we were going to come up with a plan for, okay, now how are we going to attack this? Ultimately, if she's successful, we're successful. But yeah, she didn't, talk about. Her goals were involving her husband. It didn't seem like they were long-term plans. I guess the only other things I can think about that I ever thought were weird, she did sort of want to impress him too much. She said she was going to shampoo the carpets so that he wouldn't be upset that the carpets were not clean, which, I was in their house and it looked pretty immaculate to me. And she said she was going to have to vacuum all the couches so that the couches were perfectly clean, and I was like, you know, I mean, when I come home for 3 weeks to my wife, I'm gonna flip what the couches look like.
On the floor, right?
Right. And and then she would always talk about how she needed to have it clean for him when he got home, and it was not ever dirty. But I don't know if that, to me, it was just maybe she's just trying to say something to impress me, or maybe she's just.
Well, I don't want to bust your ego a little bit, but that's how she had to live. She had to have everything perfect.
Jeez.
How many 19-year-old girls shampoo the carpet?
None. I mean,
I can't get my 17-year-old daughter to clean up her room, pick up their dirty clothes off the floor and put them in the hamper, which is, 2 feet from where they're piled up. So that's a clue. Yeah.
well, that's about all I could think of, other than the fact that, she told me that he drank, and he would drink with his friends, and yeah, I don't think of, I guess I don't know if you knew anything about him, but I believe he had gotten in some accident on the base recently, totaled his car, they had to buy a new car. I don't remember much else that she told me about him, other than what his job in the Navy was that he was a kind of a professional badass or something. He was the one on the turret that killed people. That's how she described him, so that he could take people out. One of the first times I met her, so
Yeah.
but it sounded like he was a dirtbag.
Well, he was the gunner on top of a striker for a mortar battalion unit, and
Okay.
so I guess if he'd ever been deployed, then he would be firing a weapon off the top of the truck. But he was never deployed.
Yeah.
So, on paper, I think he looked like a pretty good soldier, but he didn't have that switch to shut it off when he got home.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
And what charge is it, Brian? Is it manslaughter? Or is it
Right now, it's a strong manslaughter in the first degree.
okay?
If I find somebody that says, yeah, we were having an affair, and I can prove that that was it, and there was a motive to that, and that he had knowledge of that, then it may meet the elements of murder in the second degree. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. I can't make it into something it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But at a minimum, at a very minimum, it was gross negligence on his part. That's why it meets the manslaughter in the first degree.
Yeah, he's trained to know better than that.
He absolutely is.
That's the first thing to teach you in hunter safety when you're 10 years old, is don't point the gun at a flipping person.
Right. Yeah. And he's been around guns his whole life. So. And then 2 years in the military, as a gunner, he knows what how to clear a weapon, and pointing at the back of somebody's head and pulling the trigger is not how you clear it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's effective, but it's just not how you do it.
Mm.
But I can tell you this: I don't know if it gives you any comfort at all, but she did not suffer at all.
I actually did have that question.
It's instantaneous.
The report that one of the eyewitnesses gave said that they heard him scream and her screaming, but
She didn't scream. She had some dogs who were probably howling in there, but she did not have the ability to scream.
I would have thought that gun in the head would have killed you like that. So
Well, not always, but in this particular case, absolutely instantaneous.
was it through?
Through and through.
Jeez.
Just absolutely. I don't want to be too graphic,
no, that's okay.
but she probably, my guess, would not know that it was coming. And it was just like somebody shut the lights out, so there was no pain.
Well, that makes me feel better that she wasn't screaming for 30 seconds or something.
No, she did not have the ability to do that.
Jeez. Man. Yeah, I just want to know why. I want to know why.
Me too.
Is-
we sat in this very room and tried to figure that out for over 4 hours on Friday or Thursday night.
And he just isn't talking about anything.
No, he did. He talked a lot, but he could never come up with the explanation of why he did what he did. But so we're still working.
Jeez.
I do appreciate you coming in. I'm going to give Rick a call and see if it's not. I don't care if you bought her liquor or somebody else did. That's like I said, I'm not the liquor police. So I don't care. But that doesn't change the fact. And I spent 4 hours with him, and he wasn't impaired.
What?
So.
Oh, I was going to ask. He wasn't inebriated. Okay. Is there I know she had like no family in the area. I think she told me her grandma lived on Camino Island.
That was his grandmother. Had
was
property
his
up there, but
okay.
not they actually live in California as well.
Okay.
They just have property up there.
Did the family, were they notified? I mean, is there going to be a funeral or?
I'm not sure how all that's going to work. I think there's a lot of legal stuff we go through now. He's charged. He's the next of kin here, but the next one to be her sister that's in California. So they, once the body's released, which I think now they can do that because they performed the autopsy already, they can probably have her taken to California. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they're going to, what they're going to do. I had family members call me yesterday, and some family members want one thing and some want the other, but it's really, I think at this point, and again, it's a legal thing, that it's not criminal, it's more civil. And so I'm not sure if Ashley that's her sister, becomes the decision maker or not.
Okay.
Certainly hope it's not Skylar,
Yeah.
because he appeared to have more concern for his dogs.
Jeez. Freaking sicko. Are you allowed to give me a phone number so I could contact somebody?
What I can do, with your permission, is I can give your phone number to them.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I can do that, and then they can call you or not. But if you don't hear from them, it's not because they don't care, it's just probably because they're pretty overwhelmed.
Yeah. I just, we want to maybe send them something, tell them that she was a good worker, we loved having her, and if there is a funeral and it's up here, I'd like to go.
I think the services will be in California is what the take I got yesterday, but in around Eureka, California, but I don't know that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I can't think of anything else about their relationship, and again, I never met him, and she and I, we never did anything, but I could tell she kind of liked me, but that was about it. I just feel bad for her. I feel really bad for her. People keep texting me. They're like, people from work are like, "Hey man, are you okay?" And I just wish I could ask her if she's all right.
Well, I believe in a higher power, and I believe she's there and she's okay. I think she's not lost. She's at peace. That's who my high power takes care of. It's good people, and I think ultimately, even if she had indiscretion about her marriage with somebody else, it doesn't matter. She's a good person, and he, in my opinion, he was a controlling individual, and when he couldn't control her, he eliminated it. So,
from what she told me, this popped in my head, he wanted her to get a job. Like from what she told me, he had kind of been pushing her to get a job because of being hard to pay for everything on his own, I guess, and he wanted her to get a job. When she started turning out applications, and then I guess I happened to call her back like first or second day she turned applications out, and he was surprised at that, and then we interviewed her within like maybe a 2-week period. I think it might have been 1 week period, and we hired her part-time, but from what I understood, I thought he was happy that she had gotten a job, and she had only gotten one paycheck from us, and she was really proud of that paycheck, and she took it down to the bank and put it in their joint account, but she did talk about the fact that she felt bad spending his money, and she put her paycheck, which was like $350 in. She's like, and I only took $100 out to go buy some clothes, and I was like, well, it's your paycheck, right? You spend anything you want. You don't have to feel bad about taking his money anymore. But she only took $100 out. I'm like, whatever, they're on a budget or something. Good for them. Better than having 20 credit cards. But again, I don't know. She never really said anything that was negative about him. Just stuff that, when in a certain light, makes it seem negative.
Right. Especially now, looking back.
Yeah. I wish I had met him, because I feel like I'm a good judge of character, and my mom was beaten and abused for years, and I feel like I probably would have picked up on it pretty quickly, but...
Well, really though, Michael, even if you had, what would be your next play? I mean, what would you be able to do? Because ultimately, be supportive, all those things, but at one point, Danielle was going to have to make a decision, and I'm not trying to put it on her. It's not her fault, and she probably really wanted this perfect marriage, you know. But just like if your mother was beaten, and I don't know the whole stories with that and stuff, but you just have to be supportive until they're ready to make that decision.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I started a domestic violence unit in '96. Been a cop a long time, and one thing I learned there is that the police get involved after seven, on an average, after 7 incidents of domestic violence.
Jeez.
And so by the third or fourth time when we go there, we're done trying to help. Like, I can't believe this lady's still there. What the hell's going on with her? You can get the hell out. But when we're least likely to help because we're frustrated, keep going back, that's when they're most likely to accept that help. But it's a process. It doesn't, I can't go in, or you, or anybody can't go in and say, you need to do this, 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 and this. Because what we do when we do that is we take the role of the offender, because that offender's been telling them what to do, right?
That's true.
So you just have to be supportive there for them, and for your mother, or for Danielle, if you'd known. But it's a process. It takes time. She can't just jump and leave. You know, and you just can't do that. Part-time, she had a check for $350. Where was she going to live?
Yeah.
Unless she slept at your house in the closet or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really, it's a process. You know, you're not responsible. You can only be there to help people if they're willing to accept that help. But still be there each time. You know, I feel bad for your mother. I do. It's horrible. You know, but understand that it didn't start out that way, right? The first time that your mom met whoever was abusing her, the very first date they went out on, my guess is that guy didn't hit her.
Yeah.
Because there wouldn't have been a second date, right?
Mm.
So how that process goes is you build them up and tell them how perfect and wonderful they are, right? And everybody wants to hear that. You want to hear it, I want to hear it. You know, I want to know I'm doing a good job for Danielle. I took an oath to do a good job for her. We're the voice of her because she can't speak now. So I want to know I'm doing a good job. But once you get that positive reinforcement, and after a period of time, they kind of isolate you from your support system. So there's no other friends she can turn to. Danielle was even being isolated from some of her friends. You shouldn't talk to her anymore, that type of stuff. Because they wanted to have complete control. If you're talking to somebody else, if you're talking to me, then your spouse doesn't have control of you. They don't know what our conversation's about, right? Mm-hmm. So they're isolated. And then over a period of time, what happens is instead of being wonderful, perfect, and beautiful, you're stupid, fat, and lazy, right? So you believed all the good things. So after a period of time, you start believing all the negative things. It lowers your self-esteem. And so you feel that you're fat, stupid, and lazy. And then it's really super hard to make that move then, you know. So if your mother was abused for years, the breaking of the bones, you know, you break someone's bones 6 to 8 weeks, it heals, right? You break somebody's spirit, it can take a lifetime. Mm-hmm. So you can't, she's not responsible for that. She's responsible for making her own decisions, but we have to provide her the opportunity to make those decisions. So don't feel, I feel bad for your mother, but don't be frustrated with her either, you know, or with Danielle. She would, even if you'd have found out immediately in your 5 weeks, it would take a lot longer than 5 weeks for her to be able to take that step, you know. So, you're not responsible, even if you had an affair with her, you're not responsible for what Skylar did. Skylar's responsible for Skylar.
Were text messages to her from him super negative? Was he a dick or something?
The way he was a dick, but the way the process works is we have to have all that scanned through. So since it just happened, to get that, we probably won't have all those messages from his phones and stuff for a while. But from just interviewing you and interviewing other people, some of her friends, some other coworkers of his, you know, I know that he had the C word was one of his terms that he used, calling her cunt. So we know that happened from people that saw it and what she had told other people. And, yeah. So if you beat somebody's spirit down, it takes them a long time, you know. And generally it is because they have low self-esteem of themselves. So they're not perfect enough, so they have to beat everybody down around them so it makes them feel better. It's a sickness.
I don't know if you've chatted with any of his friends.
Some.
Okay, because she did tell me that he would have friends over for barbecues or whatever, and I didn't never met any of them or knew any of them, but I don't know if you've interviewed any of them because they might know more about the relationship than
Most of them want to protect Skylar because they know him as a soldier, and he was a good soldier. He did what he was told to do, and you know, all his stuff was squared away, real regimented. So on paper, he's a good soldier. But the problem with when you look at somebody on paper, and you'll find out, and as a manager and things for a long time, you'll look at this. Someone looks great on paper isn't necessarily the best candidate.
Yeah.
You know.
She had the one friend I ever heard of, and I never met her, but she had 2 kids, and Danielle told me that she was going to like babysit for the 2 kids, and I think the lady had just gotten a job. I don't remember what it was. I don't know if that's who you talked to, but she had one friend who was really close that she spent a lot of time with, and would go shopping with or something like that, and she liked her kids. But I would assume that person was close to the family, and if you haven't asked them any questions yet, but I don't know about anybody else. And from what I understood, she was estranged from her sisters a little bit. Like, she told me that her little sister, well, 2 things. One, when I was interviewing her, I asked her, you know, what's your proudest achievement? And she said, my little sister, because when her mom died and her dad passed away, she told me she practically raised her little sister, which was an achievement considering she was so young as well. But then later on, she also told me that her little sister was kind of immature and would post bad things about their family on Facebook, and that she would kind of have to chastise her. But so I don't know how much the sister. I thought she had a couple sisters.
She has 2 and 1 brother too. That's what I heard.
Okay.
But the one brother apparently had been in jail a few times and stuff, so she probably didn't talk about it much.
Yeah, I'd never heard about the brother.
But that's what I'm hearing. I don't, you know, I mean, I don't know for fact, but.
I don't know. I wish I could help more, but I don't know.
No, you have. You helped a lot. 'Cause to be honest with you, when you came in here, I really thought that you guys had more of a romantic relationship, and then that would give me some kind of a motive of why he did what he did. But I'd rather know the truth. I certainly don't want to think one thing versus another, because my job is to find the truth out.
Yeah.
I want to do it for Danielle because she's deceased, but I don't want to put something on the Skylar that isn't true either.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'd be kind of a hypocrite for the oath I took, you know.
I tried to keep it as professional as could be. 90% of the time when we met each other, it was like at a restaurant or something, so we just do
Black
paperwork.
Angus, right?
Well, we went to Black Angus, we went to Olive Garden, we went to Red Robin, we went to Denny's, we went to IHOP, different places, so it wasn't the same thing, but it was so that we weren't at her house. The only few times I went to her house were when we either did a conference call, and we needed someplace that was a little bit quieter, conference call with the rest of the people that work with us, or when I was showing her how to use a couple of different programs that we used, because it was going to be on her computer, and so we had to get the login information and get it all set up on her computer. But other than that, we met at restaurants or we just talked over the phone. So, and from what I understand, she only came to my house twice, and once was to bring my roommate there, and she was there for 10 minutes, and the second time was to drop those flowers off, and I wasn't even there, and I didn't even hear about it until I went to my house after she had died, and I told them what happened, and they said, no way, she was here 2 days ago and brought these flowers for us, and they were kind of in shock as well. So yeah, I really hope that he didn't do it because he thought something was going on.
Well, I guess really ultimately is why he did it is important. The fact he did do it. And
yeah, I don't know. For me personally, I want to know whether he did it out of anger and hatred and tried to kill her, or whether he is just literally retarded and just pointed the gun at her when it thought it wasn't loaded. But
well, he's a professional soldier. He's been around guns his whole life. The chances of him making that kind of mistake, I would think, would be minimal.
Yeah. I just hate to think of her being afraid of him or something. She was a really nice person. I don't think I ever saw her get upset or frustrated. I mean, like I said, I was almost weirded out by how professional she was. Like, never didn't call me back within 30 seconds or answer the phone or reply to a text or an email. She called me at like 11:30 at night or texted me and she's like, can I ask a favor? And I mean, I'm thinking, oh great, maybe her car broke down and I'm the only person she knows. And she's like, no, I don't remember what it was. I think she'd asked me, yeah, she wanted me to caulk her shower. I do the installations myself, so and she had told me that the shower was molding and asked if I could caulk it for her before Skylar got home. I said sure. But yeah, I don't know.
But you didn't get over there to do the shower?
No, I didn't. In between then and I only went to her house one time in between then and there, and I didn't have any of my tools.
Did you look at it? Did it need to be
I hadn't even looked at it. I mean, she just told me it did, and I just said, sure, I'll do it. It'll take me 5 minutes, but I didn't ever get a chance to look at it or anything. Yeah, jeez. And where are the dogs?
They're Humane Society.
Did they go to the Humane Society? Okay.
I think some of the soldiers are trying to get the dogs out, just to save them from. Yeah, but that they have no bearing on my case, so I don't really know for sure. I referred one of them to our animal control officer so they can handle that, whatever they decide to do.
Okay. Jeez. Well, is there anything else that you can think of you need from me?
No, I can't think of anything right now, but anything else that you can think of, please give me a call. I gave you a card, right?
Yeah, I got a card. I was thinking about it all weekend, trying to.
I know you were. I know it would have been better if I could have talked to you right away, but
that's
just
okay.
For the anxiety aspect of it. But.
Yeah. Well, what do you do? I do appreciate you, trying to figure out what happened. I want to know what happened. If he deserves to go to prison or
he does. He absolutely deserves to go to prison. The extent of it is I don't know yet. Does he need to go for 7 years? I think something of that negligent, he'd spend the rest of his life in prison. But the elements of the crime, they have to meet, and I'm not going to do. I would never. Absolutely would never lie, but I would never make more out of something than what it is. And if the elements fit that it's manslaughter in the first degree, then that's the prosecutor makes the charges. We present the case. We booked them in jail under manslaughter in the first degree. At 1 o'clock today, they've got most of our reports in now, and so they'll look at that and then they'll go from there and determine if it's a man 1 or a murder 2. And what that means is difference between maybe 7 and 15 years, or the years and stuff. That all changes, depends. But he doesn't have a bad history at all. He's not been. The police haven't been contacting him for domestic violence. Those things would help us if we wanted to spend more time. The amount of time he spends, again, I believe in a higher power. He's guilty, and he has to face the judge in this realm. But we all have to meet our maker at one time.
Yeah.
And I guess that's when you get to determine what the ultimate punishment is. But it does bother me that one day he'll walk out here on this face of this earth and she won't. That bugs me. I can tell you that every officer that was out there, every detective that was on the scene and that was involved in this case so far was emotionally attached to her immediately. We have a photograph of her and stuff, and it emotionally bothered everybody because she's just such a young kid. She just graduated high school.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah. So it affected everybody, and I can tell you we all want the right thing done, but nobody would make more out of something than it is. And if it works it out that it's just a man in the first degree, and they even plea it out later, because sometimes they plea a case versus going to trial to a lesser charge, just enough guilt and go on. That ultimately doesn't matter either. That's between them. Our job is to gather the information, present it. Their job is to decide from there.
So, he might not even be in prison for 7 years, you're saying?
Might not. I don't know. That's a year or two down the road from now before we'll ever go to trial on this.
Okay.
Maybe next year, but I doubt it. And sometimes they plea them out because the defense says, "Oh, you're screwed," and we'll just take the lesser of the. We'll agree not to go to trial and take this many years versus go to trial and look at that many. so I can't tell you.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, I don't really know much about how it works other than what you see on TV, and that's just a load of junk anyways.
Yeah, even if I work through the commercials, I can't solve a crime in an hour. So,
That's all right. That's okay.
this one, we know who did it, so it wasn't a whodunit, and he's being held accountable to the extent that that's what's going to take the time.
Okay. Is it okay if I tell my friend you're going to be giving him a call?
Yeah, I'll
You
probably
don't
call
want
him
me-
before you. No, it doesn't matter. I'll call him when you're
Okay.
walking out the door. So
Okay.
I have another interview coming in today, and it's actually my day off.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. No, I worked yesterday too. You got to work when you got to work them. So
Yeah,
usually we work 4/10s, and I work Tuesday through Friday generally.
Oh, okay.
But this is important, so it's why I get paid the big bucks, I guess.
Right?
Well, if you don't have anything else, sir, then we can end this interview. Do I have your permission?
Yes.
Okay. The time now is 10 o'clock. And I'll go shut off the recorder. Just wait here for me. Sure. Be right back.